Okay, this is the continuation of the previous video for the Tahubu API sample. We left it that we created the web API at localhost 5033 and it's running, and we did the example, everything is working. So now let's go ahead and see if we go back to our plugin example. Remember this example? I'm going to leave it running. You have to leave the Tahubu sample for the API running, and I'm going to choose to create a brand new instance of the terminal in here. That sounds good. Okay, but of course the API has to be running in the background. All right, if you remember the way we did the plugins, we added add from type for each one of the four: the date, time, the geocoordinates, the weather, the personal info. And I would like to come in here after this one, and I would like to do a plugin add from something, but I would like, it's not going to be added from a type that I created that has the kernel functions like we did for all of these four. At this point, I just need to point to where my OpenAPI specification API built with, like it has a Swagger, and I would like to tell it to import from OpenAI async. So let me go ahead and put a space in here so you can see it better. We'll do Control V, and this is the entire code that you might be interested in. Is to create a variable, and we're going to go ahead and await the kernel for import plugin from OpenAPI async. So this is the part that you need. Once you do that, you will be able to come in here and give a plugin a name. You can call it anything you want. And of course, it needs a URI where that is. Remember, we're running it on localhost 5033, which is running right there, 5033. And we will need to pass the Swagger v1 swagger.json based on the specification. After you do this, I can actually run the builder.services.add singleton, and we will pass the plugin as well. You have to do this part to add it as a singleton as well to make this work. And you'll notice there is a red line on the kernel because this line needs to be before it. So we'll say Control X on this one. We'll come in here and we will paste this one in here. So we'll have to get an instance, of course, of the built service provider for the kernel, and then we will be able to do it. Now there is a line under the import plugin from OpenAI. Does that mean there is a different NuGet package that will allow the semantic kernel to be able to import from the OpenAPI? And the answer to that is yes. So let me open up the project one more time, and I'll go all the way down, and I'll bring in one more NuGet package. And this one is called Microsoft Semantic Kernel Plugins.OpenAPI. Don't get confused between OpenAI and OpenAPI. They have nothing to do with each other. This is all about Swagger and bringing in the OpenAPI specification, okay? So we'll save this and we'll go back to the programs. And at this point, hopefully, when I do a quick fix, let me wait for it to get imported first. Okay, it just took a few seconds for the project to load the NuGet package, and now this will be resolved and we are in pretty good shape. So do you see how cool this is? By this one line of code, pretty much, I'm importing directly from something already existing. As long as it has a Swagger file under the swagger.json, it doesn't matter which language it was written in, as long as we have access to it and it has a Swagger file to it, Semantic Kernel will do all the heavy lifting. There is nothing under plugins in here, so I'm not adding anything in here that does not exist in my project. It's going to happen on the fly. That means when I actually do the importation in here, it will find out the get, the post, the delete, the by search, by ID, all of them, and automatically behind the scene is going to put the kernel function in front of each and every single one of them and make it available to the LLM to call it whenever it wants to. So it's the minimum amount of code needed in Semantic Kernel to use any API that has a Swagger file associated with it using the OpenAPI specification. Very, very cool. I just wanted to prepare you for the future as well, which is, so this is happening on API servers. What happens if I have an MCP server? So maybe somebody wrote an MCP server that actually works with GitHub or works with Salesforce or works with whatever, okay? And I would like to go ahead and allow it, my semantic kernel to give all the tools available to it to the LLM. It's the same thing. We will be able to use something very similar. Instead of actually going back and redoing all the work to put kernel functions in front of everything, we just need to tell it the streamable HTTP version of it, and it will put the kernel functions in front of every entry inside of these tools, and it will be callable by semantic kernel, whether it's agents or create chat completion as well. Very, very powerful. All right, are we ready to run? Let's save the file. And let's go in here, we'll cd into, what number was this one? This was 09, okay, 09 plugins. Just make sure the other terminal is still running our API. That's very important, okay? And then in here we'll say .NET run, and hopefully it will ask us a question right now. So I'm gonna ask the first question, is pretty simple. We'll say list Tahubo employees, and we'll say go. And hopefully that will end up calling it. And yes, there's Kyle, Joel, and Lino. It was able to get into my stuff. So now I can actually use the 4 that I have in my code and the one that is coming in from OpenAPI. So let's say, for instance, what is the weather where, we'll say Joel Hewlin lives. That will end up calling all 4 of them. I mean, it's going to actually end up calling the Tahubo employee, and then it's going to call the get weather, it's going to get the code geocoding, it's going to call all of them. So let's go ahead and ask that question, see if definitely the semantic kernel can coordinate between all of them. And that's his job, the orchestration between all of these things. So we'll say go, see the geo tool got called, the weather tool got called, and now it found out from my API that Joe lives in Virginia, and it gives me the temperature in his city in Virginia. I could ever ask that questions about Lino or about Kyle based on different cities. So there is a lot of different calls happening between all the different tools in here, and it did a pretty good job as well. Hopefully this was useful to see how to deal with APIs written in any language and how to wrap them in semantic kernel with only like 1 line of code. Hopefully this was useful. If you did find it useful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.